KPM.
Pernahkah anda membuang minyak masak ke dalam sinki? Tahu tak berapa banyak sampah yang kita buang setahun? Marilah kita sama-sama mencari jawapan dan banyak lagi dalam episod hari ini.
Didik TV.
Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera kepada anda. Saya Otto Othman. Bertemu lagi kita dalam Majalah Didik. Kalau anda belum tahu lagi, Majalah Didik merupakan inisiatif penerbitan usaha sama antara Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia, Impact Hub Kuala Lumpur dan Media Prima. Di sini kita akan kongsikan projek-projek impak sosial yang diilhamkan oleh pelajar-pelajar sekolah menerusi program Design for Change ICAN Schools Challenge. Dalam setiap episod, anda boleh melihat bagaimana metodologi FEEDS digunakan untuk menyelesaikan masalah yang berlaku dalam komuniti mereka. Apakah itu FEEDS? F adalah feel, iaitu merasakan. I adalah imagine, iaitu membayangkan. D adalah do, iaitu melaksanakan. Dan S adalah share, iaitu berkongsi. Dengan menggunakan metodologi ini, murid-murid ini telah melatih diri mereka dengan sifat empati, etika yang tinggi, rasa bertanggungjawab dan semangat untuk mencapai kecemerlangan dalam semua aspek pekerjaan yang mereka lakukan. Tahukah anda, lebih 2 bilion tan sisa dibuang setiap tahun? Banyak tu kan? Bayangkan, lori 1 tan umpama boleh lilit bumi 24 kali. Malaysia pula, 38 juta kilogram sisa pembejal dibuang dalam negara setiap hari. Dan 17 juta kilogram daripadanya adalah sisa makanan. Sebenarnya, kita boleh selamatkan 3.4 juta kilogram sisa makanan daripada dibazirkan. Selain itu, ramai di kalangan kita memiliki lebih dari 1 telefon bimbit. Tahukah anda, ini juga menyumbang kepada statistik e-waste di mana dijangkakan lebih 24 juta unit e-waste akan dihasilkan di Malaysia menjelang tahun 2025. Komponen dalam e-waste mengandungi bahan toksik dan berbahaya seperti merkuri, plumbum dan pelbagai lagi yang akan meresap ke dalam bumi. Seterusnya, mengancam sumber air, kehidupan akuatik dan juga manusia jika tidak dilupuskan secara mesra alam. Berdasarkan itu, murid-murid dari Sekolah Antarabangsa Prince of Wales Island Pulau Pinang mengambil perhatian perkara ini dan mengambil langkah untuk mencari cara terbaik untuk pengurusan sisa pembejal secara lestari dalam komuniti mereka. Sebelum kita meneruskan rancangan ini, apa kata kita berkenalan dahulu dengan Sekolah Antarabangsa Prince of Wales Island Pulau Pinang yang juga dikenali sebagai POWIS. Sekolah ini telah ditubuhkan pada tahun 2011 di balik pulau Pulau Pinang. POWIS kini terkenal sebagai sebuah sekolah persendirian sebagai pusat kecemerlangan dalam bidang berkaitan seni, termasuklah muzik, drama dan seni visual. Selain itu, mereka juga pernah menyertai pertandingan bertaraf antarabangsa seperti World Scholars Cup, debate, pengucapan awam dan model United Nations. Sejak menerima pengiktirafan sebagai satu-satunya pusat kecemerlangan bagi program Design Engineering Construct DEC, sekolah ini juga telah berjaya melahirkan 2 orang juara anugerah antarabangsa DEC. Sebenarnya banyak lagi pengiktirafan yang berjaya dicatatkan oleh pewaris, termasuklah Times Education Supplement School of the Year, Race for Good 2020, Steinway Southeast Asia Piano Competition dan Queen's Commonwealth Essay Competition. Bukan calon-calon sekolah ya yang kita paparkan dalam majalah didik? Jom kita saksikan paparan seterusnya.
Our project is called The Green List. The name itself is pretty self-explanatory. Green for recycling and list because we created a checklist to help segregate waste.
We decided to name it the Green List because we envisioned a cleaner and greener future through the mechanism of our project.
So there are three of us in the team, Jaina, Crystal and myself. We came together because we're all pretty united by our firm belief in waste management, and we really wanted to make a change as Malaysia is currently struggling with a proper waste management system.
I'm very shocked and alarmed at how much waste is being produced by Malaysians every day. Annually, 2.12 billion tons of waste is being produced by Malaysians, and yet only 5% of that is recycled. Knowing how much impact waste has on our environment, I wanted to do something about this.
So all three of us were passionate about waste management in our local community because we realized that it was a really big issue in Malaysia, and there was also signs of it creeping into our local community. So in order to make that first step to tackling waste management as a whole, we decided to put our heads together and come and do this project.
We picked this project because we've noticed that even though Malaysia has a waste management system implemented, it's not exactly efficient, as we still see garbage bins overflowing with trash, and we see a lot of people littering across the sidewalks, and it doesn't look very visually appealing. So we would like to create a checklist to help everyone in the community and in our school to properly manage the waste. It kind of hurts me and it disappoints me a little bit because ultimately we're living on this earth, so we should be taking care of it. And due to everyone not taking care of it properly, we are ultimately hurting the earth more, and thus it'll hurt us.
I'm very concerned and alarmed when I see the amount of waste that is being produced in Malaysia and the impact it has on the environment and the earth.
It's just not very nice to look at when you're on the street and you see litter all around you. And also it's quite degrading to our culture and vibrance of the community as a whole, because when people see it, they just immediately feel down and demotivated. Like, this is what our community has come to litter on the streets. It's very difficult to look at. So we decided to tackle the problem of poor waste management habits in our local community, which is something that we see all across Malaysia as well. That's why so much waste in Malaysia is being sent to landfills, and it's really detrimental to our land and our climate as a whole. So we decided to tackle this by starting with our community to make that first small step, but necessary step, in order to progress towards a more sustainable society.
We are the Green List from the Prince of Wales Island International School in Penang, Malaysia. My name is Jaina.
My name is Alyssa.
And my name is Crystal.
In this video, we're guiding you through our plan to develop a system for sustainable waste management in the community of Botanica CT in Balik Pulau Penang. With around 2.12 billion tonnes of waste produced annually, our unchecked waste production has massive impacts on the environment. Pollution contributes to health and environmental problems, while our unsustainable culture of consumerism places a strain on resources. In Malaysia, between 2003 and 2013, municipal solid waste has increased by more than 91%. Yet, out of the 30,000 to 38,000 tonnes of waste produced daily, only a mere 5% is recycled. So, by raising awareness, nurturing environmental education, and changing individual behaviour towards waste, we hope to foster a community where we solve this problem effectively and collectively.
To tackle waste management, we came up with a checklist for 5 categories: paper, metals, plastics, textiles, and food. It provides guidance on how to sort waste, which will effectively minimize the volume sent to landfills. Food waste produced by our school's cafeteria will be composted and used in the school's garden. The plan is to grow our own produce for school meals or to be donated to food banks. Plastics will be processed and upcycled into products that will be sold. Plastics we can't recycle will be sent to a recycling center. Paper waste will be sorted into different categories. Most will either be composted or recycled. Metals will be sorted for use in our upcoming eco projects, and any unsuitable metals will be recycled externally. Textiles will either be recycled or reused in our school or donated to a NGO.
The checklist we have created will be sent to members of the Botanica community via an e-platform. Residents will then have a simple and systematic guideline to segregating and disposing of their waste properly. On Friday afternoons, a team of students from the school's eco clubs will be dispatched to waste collection points on bicycles, and the waste will be brought back to campus. Students will then separate the different categories of waste and sort them into ones that can be sold to recycle and the ones that will remain at school. The waste that remains on campus will be materials that our students will use to create and repurpose into various items. The profits gained from selling these items, as well as money collected from selling recyclable items to the recycle team, will be donated to an organization that supports our cause of a cleaner environment. Our initiative is estimated to see results from our school, as well as over 50 homes in the community. Though through our social media advertising, as well as school promotion, we hope to connect with as many people as possible.
To start off with, we researched it online, and then we contacted some contacts at Penang Green Council, as well as a recycling company to see what they recycle and what they don't accept. So after figuring that out, we all researched a different material, and then we brought all our research together and compared it, and then we created this whole project.
Before we started our own research, we reached out to the Penang Green Council to get some statistic and data local to Penang residents to support our project. After that, we split off the categories of waste between ourselves and researched on that individually before compiling our results in a document and figuring out a way to make the checklist.
So our 4 main categories of household waste we found were plastics, metals, textiles, and paper. We split up the categories. So for example, I took plastics, and then one of my teammates would take metals, and one of them would take papers. And for each category of waste, we would research on how to sustainably and properly segregate the waste and also clean it out before it is sent to recycling centers. Because a lot of the time when people segregate their waste at home, they don't really know how to follow the correct process, and then it can't end up being recycled. So through that, we were able to come together and provide 4 different separate pieces of research and information that we put together as a whole to create our checklist.
Our checklist will provide an easy-to-follow guideline so that residents can sort and prepare their plastics and send it to the drop-off point. First, the plastic waste will be collected and brought to pallets to be sorted and prepared. Then, it will be inserted into the shredding machine and then the injection molder to make the plastic items and products. This will then be sold to generate profits.
We set up a recycling collection area outside of our school so the community can stop by and drop off their waste. So currently we have 3 crates outside, which is plastics, paper and metals. And in school, we started this whole project by getting some students to get involved. So some students segregate the plastics, some students segregate the metals, and some segregate the paper. So as a whole school community, we all get involved and we take part in this to hopefully uplift the general community in our area.
So we built the crates that for each category of waste, and we put it in a specific waste collection point outside of our school. So throughout the week, residents can come and drop off their waste after segregating at home through our checklist. And then every Friday during the project time that we have allocated for this project, we would go out and collect this waste and bring it back to school and sort of divide it into what can be used by us on campus and what can be sold to the recycling organization called Recycle.
So we upcycle our materials into products such as flower pots, carabiner clips and coffee caddies. So some will be sold at the Habitat Foundation in Penang Hill. Some of the profit we make, we donate it to some charities of our choices, and sometimes we'll have a certain charity of the month or a couple months, and then we'll change it to someone else depending on what we believe in at that moment. And the rest of the profit actually goes back to us to help upscale our project further so we can expand it further. So hopefully we can target a largest community in Penang. The profits received have been donated to the Dusky Langer Project, the Batu Grace Children Home, as well as Home for Hopes. So by having a social media page, it allows us to reach a larger scale audience, especially the students, the younger generation, as well as the older community. As due to COVID, we can't really go around and tell people about our project, so we reach all these audiences through social media.
So we distributed our checklist to the Botanica community through a WhatsApp group and through a Facebook page. We also spread the word around the school by getting the notice out to students through our own school Facebook page and also through bulletins and notices around school.
We also created an Instagram and Facebook page that we also advertise our checklist on, and there's also a website that is for the local residential community, which under the news and events columns, we posted the checklist there as well. the main cause of poor waste management habits is just lack of information. A lot of times people have so many resources available to them, but they don't know where to start. So by educating them in a very straight and easy to follow way, we can get the message out to more people. The local residential community organization has sponsored or agreed to sponsor to help us upscale to getting a shipping container with different categories or slots for different categories of waste. So now we can also include textiles into our final project. As well as that, our school's eco committee has also been helping out and have taken out of their budget to give us a composting machine, which we will also use to tackle food waste.
Personally, I definitely enjoyed the do part the most because it is the most satisfying thing to be able to see the change that you have created and look back and see how much you have achieved.
The most valuable lesson for me was probably staying organized and staying resilient, as due to this situation, we had to change our ideas a lot and we had to adapt. So staying resilient to hopefully keep our hopes up that this project will actually be implemented.
The most valuable lesson I learned was the lesson of teamwork and coming together for a common goal. I think it was really special that all of us were so passionate about this topic that we all came together and created something really amazing that will impact not only our school but also the entire local community.
I enjoyed Share the most because I found it really fulfilling that we were able to share this community-wide solution to everyone in our school and in the residential area. So it was really great to be able to see this project come together and everyone taking part in it.
Looking back, I learned a lot about recycling myself while carrying out my research. Other than that, I learned to work with my wonderful friends and also to communicate with organizations and teachers alike to get things done.
The one out of FIDS that I enjoyed the most was the Imagine section, because not only did we come up with this idea during that process, but we came up with so many other ideas to manage waste in our community, which could all be easily implemented as well. So there was really a chance for us to be really creative and imaginative for what we can do, and thinking of all of these solutions together really shows that we all have the strength and the power to be able to make actual change in our community.
My name is Anna Glossop. I've been in Powys 7 years and I teach design and technology. The student teams have been very strong and they form their own teams. Students talk about each other's strengths, weaknesses and help bounce off each other. Our students are learning about sustainability from a young age, and we try to integrate that all the way through the curriculum, from lower school right the way up to A-level. So drip feeding that knowledge from an early age helps them to take a sustainable approach to their life and to integrate good habits in their learning inside and outside school. I think we've got some new equipment recently. We've got an injection moulder, so we've got new facilities that we can use. So we've been excited by that. It's given us new opportunities to make and create new items and to share that enthusiasm with the students. So yes, I would say it has. Yeah, I think having an understanding of the project, the reasons that we engage in these projects, and an empathy really helps the students to engage with what they're doing. Feel, imagine, do and share principles have run throughout the whole project and been key to what the students have been aiming to achieve. Getting to know them better, seeing their successes, seeing what they're capable of achieving, and yeah, watching them navigate their way through the project themselves. They've been incredibly independent, really. It's a pleasure to teach. My hopes and wishes are that the students move on to live a sustainable life, look after our planet, integrate that into their families, their households, and teach their children in the same way.
When the students first approached me about the project, I was really excited because I think waste is a very important issue that we are facing at this moment in time globally, but specifically in Malaysia. So the students came to me to launch this particular project and start to gain support from all the community members in the school and also in our wider community of Botanica CC. And so the students then really pitched a great idea to me. Why don't we actually create our own recycling centre? And that just started to gather momentum. And now we're at a point where we're looking to upscale the project, which is absolutely fantastic. I think it's really gathered a lot of momentum and raised awareness in our local community. The students in particular did a great job with social media, getting posts out to our wider community. We used Facebook, Instagram. We then had a number of poster campaigns in the school. And because of that, actually, other schools are now looking to us to gain ideas about how they could implement a recycling centre at their school. So I think we're starting to create a real movement of other schools in a green environmental way. I think education is the biggest thing here. We have to educate students and the wider community about what can be recycled and actually segregation. The students came to me about segregation is the biggest problem that they have, that ultimately waste gets mixed up and therefore you can't recycle all of those items. Now with regards to making it bigger, ultimately it's a little bit about finances now, that we want to be able to get a shipping container, from what I understand, and enlarge our capacity for storage. At the moment we're using a classroom for our storage and a cupboard as well, and actually by getting a larger 20-foot container, that then gives us a lot more cubic space to be able to have a more regular pickup. It also then gives us opportunities to do drive-by recycling, and the students have also pitched an idea that we have our afternoon powers project where students undertake citizenship education and our service education, and those students will then go out and collect door-to-door waste. But of course SOPs have impacted that at this moment in time, but that's certainly the vision for the future. So ultimately comparing sort of what happened in the classroom before, students ultimately all lined up facing a board, and sort of, we had a Victorian model, the 1800s, where ultimately students were being prepared for the world of work and to just listen to their foreman or whoever was managing them and then to follow instructions. Now we're trying to broaden students' horizons by project-based learning, creating a more wider scope of opportunities. So taking the learning very much outside of the classroom and then moving it into the wider community and giving students ownership, empowering them ultimately to make choices and then to evolve a project longer term. It's not just now a piece of paper and preparing them for exams. It's about free thinking, it's about creativity, it's about them having that ownership. And so ultimately now project-based learning is the way we should be moving all forms of learning towards, because it then gives the students a better pedagogy and a better understanding of the world of work and how things are evolving. We're looking at jobs in the next 5, 10, 20 years that don't even exist now, and that ultimately an old system isn't going to prepare them for that, and we do need to start thinking outside the box and giving them ownership of different projects.
So our challenges before we started this project was mainly trying to find the main problem that we feel strongly about, because we've come up with several different problems that we would like to target. So definitely trying to figure out which one is more important to us and which one we would have to let go. So some of the difficulties we faced implementing this project was mainly that due to COVID, we all had to be at home and we couldn't meet up physically. So it was a bit hard to discuss and figure out how we would like to do our project, as well as due to restrictions, we weren't really sure what we could do and what we couldn't do at the time.
When we started this project, it was during the lockdown and it was also summer holidays. So we had to coordinate our times and discuss things online, which did pose some challenges because we had to make time for it, and it was not the most effective way of communication. Due to COVID-related restrictions and delays, we couldn't get a lot of the orders that we purchased, and a lot of them were cancelled, and we couldn't even move around much. So we had to make a lot of compromises and come up with plan Bs.
The main challenge that we faced in the beginning was probably not being able to see each other. It made discussions quite slow. Even though we could communicate online, it would have been better if we got together and actually put things in person. Other than that, we actually went through it quite smoothly, but there were obviously delays with the uncertainties of whether school would begin or school would close. So, yeah. Reaching out to the community was a bit of a challenge as well during the implementation process because of the restrictions. So another challenge that we face is the need to upscale quickly because we've accumulated a lot of waste recently through the community and also through our school. So we need to be able to manage that somehow.
My hopes for this project is that we would be able to start door-to-door collections fairly soon, as our original plan is to have students on bikes collecting the waste materials from the different houses in the residential area. However, due to the restrictions and SOPs, we could not implement that. So in the near future, we really hope to get door-to-door collection it should hopefully be easier for the community to participate in this because it's easier for them.
I think the students' ownership and project-based learning is so vitally important. At the end of the day, we're preparing students for the world of work and employment opportunities, and that's what work is about. It's often about working on a project in a small team and being able to then see that through to the end. And that's what you don't sometimes get in a standard education format. Ultimately, you complete a question and that's the end of it, and it's done within that sort of 1 hour lesson, whereas this is an extended period of time, and keeping students interested and engaged and motivated is more challenging. But ultimately, if you've got good students and a good team, that really does make the world of difference.
The students have been wonderful. They're very passionate about what they do and they've been engaged from beginning to end. We've not had any difficulties there. Yeah, it is important for the students to understand and build relationships with the community, also raising funding. So we have engaged the community, local centres to raise awareness and to build finances for what we're doing. Also for us, we're running out of plastic to recycle, so it's really key for the students to work with the community to build resources. We can actually process those further down the line.
Sekarang anda dah tahu kan? Apa tunggu lagi? Mari kita amalkan pengurusan sisa pepejal secara lestari. Sama-samalah kita asingkan plastik, besi, sisa makanan dan tekstil sekarang. Dengan cara itu, ingat ya, sisa makanan boleh dikompos dan memberi manfaat kepada alam sekitar sebagai baja semula jadi untuk berkebun dan pertanian. Plastik pula terbahagi kepada dua, plastik yang boleh diguna semula dan plastik yang boleh dikitar semula. Kertas pula kita boleh bahagi kepada dua juga, iaitu kertas yang boleh dikompos, contohnya tisu dan tisu basah, dan kertas yang boleh dikitar semula seperti cardboard, surat khabar dan majalah. Besi pula boleh diasingkan kepada dua, besi yang boleh digunakan semula dan besi yang kita kitar semula. Contohnya, besi yang boleh digunakan semula seperti tin makanan. Ia boleh digunakan sebagai pasu, ya. Tekstil pula boleh dikitar semula atau diguna semula dengan tujuan lain seperti kain lampin. Kalau anda nak bantu komuniti anda, buat satu checklist dan edarkan kepada mereka supaya komuniti anda sedar dan tahu bagaimana pengurusan sisa pepejal secara lestari. Kewujudan perkhidmatan yang menguruskan sisa pepejal domestik bukanlah alasan untuk kita mengabaikan ilmu pengasingan sampah. Sebaliknya, perlu bersama-sama melaksanakan tanggungjawab berkenaan. Kesedaran dan kerjasama masyarakat terhadap pengurusan dan pengasingan sisa pekerja domestik yang bermula di kediaman masing-masing adalah antara langkah penting dalam melestarikan persekitaran serta menjaga keharmonian sejagat. Objektif pengasingan sisa pekerja di rumah sebenarnya untuk mengelakkan pembuangan bahan boleh dikitar semula, mengurangkan jumlah sisa pekerja dihantar ke tapak pelupusan, mengurangkan peruntukan wang negara untuk proses pelupusan sisa pekerja. Sekiranya anda tidak tahu, adalah menjadi satu kesalahan di bawah Akta Pengurusan Sisa Pekerja dan Pembersihan Awam 2007 Akta 672 jika tidak mengasihkan sisa. Sudah tibanya masanya kita mengubah cara hidup dengan mengamalkan kitar semula dan mengasingkan sisa di punca. Jika tidak mahu, Malaysia terus dipenuhi dengan sampah. Paparan ini mengakhiri episod kita kali ini. Ikuti kami di Instagram Majalah Didik untuk maklumat lanjut berkaitan Design for Change I Can Schools Challenge ya. Anda boleh komen, berkongsi dan mana tahu kemungkinan sekolah anda akan kita pilih untuk Majalah Didik. Sehingga kita bertemu kembali dalam episod akan datang, ingat ya, jangan berhenti berimajinasi kerana perubahan itu terletak di tangan anda. Saya Othman. Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera dan jumpa lagi.